Hi, nice to see you again. How have you been feeling this week?
Not the best, to be honest.
Okay. So it sounds like you've had a bit of a difficult week. Would it be okay to put that on the agenda for today, and maybe we can spend a bit of time exploring that and trying to understand that?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah.
So perhaps if there's a recent time that's fresh in your mind over the past week that you've been feeling particularly sort of down or not great, perhaps we could break that down together and try and understand it, and from that we might be able to figure out some ways to help you with that. Would that be okay?
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
So was there a time over the past week where you were feeling pretty bad?
Well, I think there's been a few ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
but perhaps Sunday, it's just gone.
Okay.
Was not a good day. I just remember it because actually I can't remember exactly why I do remember, but it stands out in my mind because it seemed to be a day when I didn't really do anything except there was a bit of sleeping in the daytime, that kind of thing, and perhaps something about weekends. Generally, it can be a bit of a miserable time sometimes.
There's something about Sunday in particular, and you find yourself like spending quite a bit of time in bed and not really doing much. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just spending the whole day in bed. I suppose it was a bit miserable either side of that, but I think at some point, I just decided I would try and take a nap, and maybe that would. Well, maybe that was a good idea. I don't know if it was, but.
I'm wondering what may have been happening for you on that Sunday before you decided to take a nap.
Yeah, I just remembered that I guess I was unhappy about well, not doing things for one thing, so I think that said the weekend could be a bit miserable, because sometimes you'd hear the week after or something that your friends or whatever were out doing such and such, doing really interesting things, but I might have just been stuck there not doing something because I couldn't join them or I wasn't invited. And I think this Sunday I was on Facebook. I don't know if you use it yourself, but it's it can be a really interesting thing, but a bit of a rubbish thing as well, because obviously everybody puts pictures of exciting things they're doing and interesting things, and if you're not really able to do that, it can feel like you're not doing so well in life. And I think this weekend some friends have been getting married, but I only realised afterwards when people were posting pictures of this wedding that I haven't been invited to it. So I mean that's just it's one occasion and it's not the end of the world, and I can kind of understand why, because I haven't been in touch with the couple who got married for a little while, but still just to see all my friends there at this thing and I wasn't. Oh crumbs, that's a bit rubbish. So I suppose that just maybe pushed me into a bit of a worse mood.
I guess, understandably really, it sounds like in terms of what happened, you were kind of looking at Facebook and saw these pictures of your friends at this wedding and had this realisation that you hadn't been invited, and it sounds like that made you feel really, really down at the time. It just has kind of very strong. So you get this like a strong feeling of just being unhappy and feeling rubbish about yourself. Could you describe that a little more to me? This really strong feeling. How would you describe that emotionally?
I don't know. I don't like it. The simplest way I can put it, and that I don't like myself. And that feeling makes me feel like I don't like myself, and that I don't want to feel like that anymore. And that, I guess, maybe why at some point I just thought, forget this, turn off the computer or whatever, just go to bed. That will stop feeling like that.
Sounds like quite a depressed feeling that you were experiencing. Would that be the right word to describe it? Or
Yeah, no, I've definitely got depression in the past. Yeah.
Do you have aware of what that feels like in your body when you're experiencing that feeling?
Good question. I'm not sure. There might be, slightly different feelings sometimes. Because sometimes you can feel a bit angry about things like that. But I don't remember.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I don't remember feeling angry like that day, just down. So yeah, depressed is the word. Just kind of physically tired.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, you kind of get this idea that you just don't want to be feeling like that anymore. You don't want to be thinking anymore. Just want to turn it off. So yeah, I guess I must have thought, well, I'll go and have a nap, and then maybe I'll feel better after it.
So you described this kind of sort of tired, depressed feeling, and you also described a number of thoughts that seemed to be going through your mind at the time of not liking yourself, or with some other. I wonder what else was going through your mind as you were feeling that way.
Well, I guess you worry that that kind of thing is just going to, it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, and you get, because I've had, like I mentioned, depression and stuff. So I've had mental health problems, I think you call it, for a while, and I suppose after a few years of it, you start to think, well, maybe this isn't going to get any better if it doesn't get any better, and you think, like I talked about Facebook, and what if in like a year or in 5 years it's just exactly the same, and I see my friends doing really great things, and being happy, I guess, that's the word just popped into my head. Seeing people be happy, but thinking, I'm not happy. So it's kind of uncomfortable to feel, you see yourself compared to other people, that they're doing really well, but you are not. It's like it multiplies or makes you feel worse than if you just never saw the computer in the first place.
It kind of makes you painfully aware of what you feel you're missing almost.
Yeah.
So I wondered if I could start to share some of the things I've been noting down. Would that be okay?
Yeah, please do.
And just check that I've got this right. So it sounds like that in terms of what happened on Sunday, you saw those pictures on Facebook, and then I guess that made you aware of them being happy, and the thought occurred to you that you're not happy at the moment. You also described thinking that you don't like yourself, and this sense that it's not going to get any better. Understandably, if you're thinking that way, it makes sense that you're going to feel really depressed, and these thoughts are understandable given what you saw on Facebook, and given your experience of being stuck with depression quite a while. I'm also wondering if you had any other thoughts about, whilst you were looking at those pictures, for example, did you have any other thoughts about what you felt it said about you as a person, the fact that they seem to have gone out and not invited you?
I'm not sure how to put some of that into words possibly, but I suppose you worry that people are kind of possibly talking about you behind your back, because you think, well, they've either forgotten about me entirely, and that's not nice, or perhaps they've kind of actually decided, in a conversation they've been talking about me and said, should we invite me? And then they've said, no, we won't invite him, and you think, well, what would make them think that? And then I think, well, it kind of makes sense in a way, because I've probably been maybe a bit difficult, for my friends over the years, because it's been, like I said, there's been ups and downs, and I mentioned depression, there's probably a bit more to it, and so I've said a bit more to you about other things in the past, and maybe they just felt they didn't want to keep being involved with me. It's been a bit difficult in the past.
So perhaps thoughts that they think you're difficult, or they don't they're excluding you, or how would I put that in your words?
Perhaps just the friends that I used to think I was good friends with, perhaps, are uncomfortable with me now.
Okay. So if I put they're uncomfortable with me. And do you think that about yourself? Do you think you're difficult? Do you think you cause discomfort? Oh.
Probably or possibly. I think I did in the past. I think friends are probably patient. Perhaps you can only be patient for so long without something getting better, and then perhaps they just think, leave them to it.
Do you think perhaps you've tested their patience or something? Or?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was some really rocky times, I guess, in the past, and I'd fallen out with some friends, and I guess I thought we'd, made up, if you like, but maybe some things never really changed back to how they were. So yeah, I guess paranoia maybe is the word. Like, you hear people being paranoid, and I know I have been really paranoid in the past.
You had some paranoid thoughts, and perhaps were you feeling paranoid at the time on Sunday? Or?
I don't think so, but because I take a medication, I think I've said that before, and so I don't think it's been really bad recently, but maybe a little bit paranoid.
I'll pop that down perhaps just as maybe a little bit, but it seems that the strongest feeling was the feeling of feeling low and depressed really at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd just like to get a bit more of an understanding of what you did really to cope, and it sounds like one of the things you did was take a nap, and I feel like I understand that need to sort of curl up in bed when feeling low. And how long were you lying in bed for?
Good question, because I wasn't asleep for all the time I was in bed. I was probably just lying there, just thinking about all that stuff.
Okay.
And maybe even for like an hour or something, I can't really remember, and then maybe I was asleep for another hour perhaps.
So you're sort of lying in bed awake for an hour thinking, lying in bed and sort of thinking about it all. And did you do anything else in response to this situation, or does that kind of summarise it?
Probably is everything I can really remember clearly. I didn't really do anything. I guess that was the other part of the problem, if you like, is that I wasn't doing anything. I just don't have the motivation really anymore to just pick myself up. All I can think is I remember putting on a CD of some music I like, because I thought, well, that would be nice and relaxing, but I don't remember it, making me feel any better.
Okay, so you did put on a CD. What kind of music did you put on? Was it something relaxing or something?
Yeah, no, it was just like dead relaxing and quiet, a bit serious maybe. Don't know if that was the best thing to play, but I just thought it would be like, people listen to music to get to sleep.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really listening to it. I just thought, well, if it's on in the background, perhaps it just stops that little bit of noise in your head, and you can just...
So something perhaps to soothe you and relax you, although something's occurred to you that, what if it was a bit serious? Or,
Yeah. But I only realised that now, but at the time I thought, that would be a nice piece of music.
So if we kind of summarise this then, I wonder if we could just have a think about how some of these things may be linked together. Would that be okay?
Sure, yeah.
So it makes sense that you'd be feeling depressed in response to the situation if all these kind of quite negative thoughts are going through your mind. It makes perfect sense that you'd feel that way. And it's understandable that you'd want to nap and retreat to your bed at those times. But I'm just wondering, what was the impact of napping on the way you were feeling? Did you wake up feeling better? Or?
No. No, I definitely didn't feel any better. I probably felt worse, if anything. Just feel slightly disoriented. I mean, I say that because I can't clearly remember this Sunday, but I do know from you know, fairly often we'll have a nap in the daytime or whatever, but I know sometimes you can just wake up feeling worse, you can feel more tired and groggy and a little bit, I don't know, just slightly annoyed by everything and cranky is a word that just popped into my head. And yeah, it doesn't really get any better.
So you made this link then between potentially napping and increasing your feelings of tiredness. Would it be fair to put an arrow there from there to there?
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
the one leads to the other, yeah.
And I'm just wondering how perhaps napping affects the way that you were thinking at the time. So when you're lying in bed, is there any link between this and some of the thoughts that go through your mind?
Yeah, this one here where I said it's not going to get any better. Well, it's like an old cliche or something, isn't it, when you think it's not going to get any better by lying in bed because you're not doing anything to change what you're unhappy about. So lying in bed, even at the time, I probably would have just been... You overthink, don't you, when you kind of really stop and think too much. So I've just been thinking the worst, really, like, oh, this is a bad state to be in, I can't fix it, it's never going to change, it's all doom and gloom.
It's a really interesting observation you've made there. So you've made a link between napping and then that potentially giving you more time to think of all these doom and gloom things as you described, and possibly reduces the chance for you to find out things might be different or things could change. It keeps you stuck in a way. Would that be the right way of summarising it?
Stuck. It's a good word. That's exactly what it feels like. You're just stuck and you can't change it. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd just say as well that, so if, let's say I go to lie down for the nap and you're lying in bed, I suppose when you do that, you don't think I'm going to go and lie down and think miserable things. I probably think I'm trying to figure it out in my head, and that's what you think you're going to, think about and think through, and you're going to figure out a way to take how you feel bad and I don't know, come up with an answer to how to make it better, but it doesn't really work from what I've tried or seen.
That's also an interesting point you've made there, that perhaps one of the reasons why you maybe decided to go to bed was thinking, if I lie in bed, I'll have a chance to think this through and analyse it through. But you also recognise that actually it didn't help and it kind of makes you feel worse, so it kind of has some disadvantages.
Yes.
Understandable that you do that, but you would kind of realise that it doesn't always kind of, it's not the most helpful thing to do potentially.
Yeah, I didn't realise it at the time though.
Yeah.
It seems
It's
to
funny,
be,
isn't it?
it is funny that sometimes you only see something when you said it out loud, or you see it on paper like this and you go, oh yeah, hold on.
Because we do these things without thinking, don't we? When we get stuck and we fall into habits, don't we? And so now that we're aware of it and you can sort of see it a bit from a distance, if napping doesn't help, what else could you do? Is there some sort of activity that you could try instead of return to bed in the day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably multiple things I could do, but I guess what I'd say about that is you don't feel like doing it. You just feel like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm just going to lie down and, like I said before, just kind of switch off, but at the same time try and find an answer to things as you're thinking about it. But no, maybe doing something like physical, like people go running, people go to the gym, or they go out and go to the countryside and have a nice walk and fresh air, things like that. Or go to the pub, I suppose, when you're seeing friends and things. that's the thing many people do on a Sunday afternoon, is go for a drink, have a lunch.
So I hear what you're saying there. Sometimes it doesn't occur to you to do those things, and perhaps some of those thoughts about, oh, it's just, I'm tired, it's too much effort, or it's not going to help, can sometimes get in the way. I'm wondering whether we might be able to experiment with activity just to see if it helps, just to find out.
I like that word, experiment. Yeah, that seems like a very good idea, because this doesn't seem to work, does it?
If it doesn't help, we'll think of something else.
Mm.
But I'm wondering, you came up with a few ideas there. You said sort of run, or walk, or go get some fresh air, or get in contact with friends and do something social. What went through your mind then?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't. I wish it was, dead sociable.
Okay.
That's the word. But it's difficult and you just feel awkward. And I think what I'd said is you'd written down there about the Facebook. Well, with all that going on, I just think, well, if I try and ring somebody, I suppose I think the worst now I think of it. I'll think, okay, maybe I'll phone such and such and see if they want to go for a drink or whatever. But then before I call them, I'll think, they're not going to pick up the phone, just going to pretend they're not there. Or
there's a thought there, if I call, they're not going to pick up. Okay.
Or, even if they do pick up, they're going to say, oh, sorry, I'm busy right now, I can't do whatever it was.
Or they'll be busy.
I mean, and I'd like to do all that, but like I said, it's a bit difficult.
I hear it's difficult. It's kind of scary, isn't it? The fear of potential rejection here. But I guess I'm wondering whether you may be interested in testing out this, almost as if this was a prediction, and to find out if it was true or not. Could you see the advantages of...
Do you think it's a good idea?
Try? Well, I'd really like to get your views in it, but potentially, I hear that it's scary, but I think potentially it could be a really worthwhile thing if we could find out that actually, if you do get in touch, your friends may invite you out, and you may be able to do something social and enjoyable and have connection with others again. There's a potential advantage there. But I also hear that it's taking a risk, and
well, if you don't take risks, like they say, then where are you going to get with that? Nowhere particularly. Got to take risks, I guess. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, if you recommend or you think it might be helpful, then. Yeah, I should give it a go.
Are you willing to schedule that into a kind of timetable and
That's
kind of a...
very business-like, isn't it?
I know it's...
Well, that makes sense, because I do need reminders of what time of the day it is sometimes, because I forget.
Sometimes people find that writing it down helps them more likely to follow through with their intentions. Would you be willing to give that a go? I've got a little schedule here.
Very organised. Yeah, it seems to be a good idea, and you seem to kind of know what you're doing because you've got the timetable there and everything. Well, I guess I trust what you're saying there, and it probably is a good idea to do what you said. So, do you mean for me not to pick a time on this timetable?
So I'm pleased that the timetable feels like it's something that you can give you a bit of structure, maybe trust in. But I'm wondering whether you might be able to decide on a time this week or a day when you might be able to commit to making a phone call or a text to invite a friend out to the pub. Okay.
It's a bit daunting, but
Okay. What's going through your mind now?
just a bit nervous, really.
Okay. You feel that nervousness?
Yeah, I'm just not somebody who picks up the phone. Usually, it's usually somebody else making the arrangements. Like if somebody's remembered to get in touch or whatever. So it's just not something I've done for a while. But like I said, I think it's a good idea. Probably a good idea.
Okay.
But no, I should give that a go and see how it goes.
What would make it easier? I don't know if we could. Is it a text or a phone call? What would be
Text's
more?
always easier.
Okay.
So does that
Yes,
kind
that
of
sounds.
make sense to you?
It does make
just
sense.
text somebody instead of calling them?
And when do you think you might do that?
What day is it today? Is it Tuesday?
So Tuesday there. Splitting the days.
Okay. It's weird. I do feel nervous about that. I think when's a good day or a bad day to do it. Well, I suppose people are usually free more at the weekend. Well, some people might be free in the evenings and the weekdays, but perhaps for Saturday.
Would you like to pencil that in yourself? A time on
yeah.
Saturday when you would text. Is that enough notice for them?
Good question. Have to find out, I guess.
Yeah.
Just try it and see if
try
they're
it.
free.
Sure.
So Saturday. Do you mean for me just to choose a time?
Yeah, just to pop it in there, just to say a little note to yourself. Text whoever it is you're going to text. Who would you text?
Well, there's a few friends that I've seen a little bit over the last year or so. I mean, do you want to tell their name and stuff?
Just as long as you know who you have an intention to text, that's okay. So
Sure.
if there's someone that you can think of that you want to text, that's all right.
Yeah.
You can jot down perhaps their initials or whatever prompt you need. So I see that this is making you nervous, and I'm just wondering about the thoughts that are going through your mind. Perhaps it's this here, what you've already said, that they're not going to reply, or that they'll be busy. So would you be willing to use this as an experiment to test out whether this is true or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think the word experiment is a good one, and it makes it a bit more logical, rather than me just getting, caught up in my thoughts about it.
So how certain are you that one of these negative outcomes is going to come true? How much do you think they won't reply? On a scale of say 0 to 100, where 100 is obviously 100% certain.
Maybe 50%.
50,
I really don't know.
So you're kind of in two minds. Is it the same for they'll be busy?
Again, I really don't know, because like the friend I think I'll get in touch with, I really don't know what he's doing, so it's just going to be a bit of an experiment.
Yeah. One thing I'm wondering, because it is making me feel nervous, and I'm just wondering, which is understandable, and I'm wondering how you may feel in the event that they don't reply. How would you feel?
Not happy.
Okay. So we might get here a little.
Yeah.
How might you make sense of it if they don't reply?
How might I make sense of it?
What would be the reason why you think they weren't replying?
They just
Okay.
couldn't be bothered.
Okay.
Just thought, no, I just don't fancy that. Maybe they don't want to speak to me. Or
Okay. So it might feel like a kind of rejection, that you might think that they don't want to speak to you. Or one thing I'm wondering is if that does happen, I'm wondering whether you can generate any alternative reasons for why somebody may not be available to meet you, or why somebody might not reply.
Well, I mean, if they're just not available, that's one thing.
That's one thing.
Like they could be off doing something completely different. But if they just don't, if he just doesn't get back to me, if he just doesn't reply, then I don't know. I just think he might be just ignoring my text, or if I called him, I just ignore the phone.
Do you ever not reply to a text?
Ever not reply to text?
had some delay in reply?
Oh yeah, I'm always delaying, because I'm always not dead, but sometimes nervous about what I say, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I might take my time, and then actually sometimes I just completely forget. Now I think about it. But I might see, the next day, I see my phone or whatever, and then remember, I forgot to reply to that text.
So one possibility is someone could just forget, if that's what, that may happen. Are there any other reasons why sometimes people may not reply to a text?
What if they lost their phone?
Exactly, yeah. Something like that, because I was just thinking that's happened to me. So,
yeah, it can happen.
I'm just wondering, if that happens to you, would you be able to consider the alternatives, perhaps write them down?
Write them down now or
at
on
the time,
that day?
if that happens, would you find it helpful to consider potential alternative reasons why somebody may not reply, if that happens to you?
Yeah, because if it wasn't like, if the answer to that question wasn't this, but it was they possibly just lost their phone, or it got broken, or the battery is dead or something, then I'd think, oh, that's okay, that's not the end of the world. I'll try them another day or something.
It might help you feel a bit better if you can consider the other reasons.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm wondering is if they don't reply or if they're not available, do you have a backup activity that you could do so that you're not sort of here again and thinking about it?
Well, I mean, there's another friend I can think of that I haven't seen in a while. I could try them, but I mean, do you mean that I just try and get in touch with this one friend here, and if they don't get back in touch, just leave it and do something else? Or do you think I should try and get in touch with somebody else?
What do you think would work for you? Would you like to just have an activity that you do, like go for a walk or anything? I've got some list of activities here if you want some ideas. Or would you prefer to text another friend?
Do you know what, I just thought, I don't want to, if you can't get back to me or doesn't get back to me, I probably don't want to keep going around texting people until I get a reply off somebody. So I'll probably just leave it at that. Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that, but you never know. No, I'll probably just do, like you said, go for maybe a walk or something instead, because then I don't have to deal with the rest of it.
That sounds like a good backup. I'm wondering whether you might be interested in scheduling some other activities on other days of the week, or if you feel you feel this is enough for you for now and you might want to focus on that next week.
Okay.
Or you have to ignore that. There's buzzing in the background. But I guess what I'm wondering is, would you like to have a schedule of some other activities then? So
I'll have a look at it.
could you have a look at this list and maybe just pick 5 that kind of appeal to you, that maybe might interest you that you might enjoy?
There's 111 things.
There's quite a lot on that list, and some of the suggestions are quite niche. Does any kind of stand out for you?
Looks like there's a lot of interesting things there. I just don't know how many I could do. It's really there's lots of very different things, isn't there? It's not like it's all the same thing.
Or perhaps there were other things that you used to enjoy, that you used to do when you were perhaps feeling a bit better and you
Well, when I think of it, I guess some things I would like to do, you more or less have to be with other people, otherwise it's a bit rubbish. So going for a lunch in the pub, for example, I wouldn't want to go and sit in the pub on my own. Or
why wouldn't you want to sit in the pub on your own?
Sure, just wouldn't. Feel a bit weird, feel a bit like a loner or whatever.
Concerned about what others might think, or?
Yeah, I just feel like people would look at me like as a weirdo.
Okay.
They wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but yeah, I wouldn't like that too much.
But perhaps that's something we can look at in another session together. But for now, I guess if that's something that you're less sure at, then are there any other activities that you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, taking care of my plants.
Okay.
The reason I said that, there is a reason,
Okay.
and I'm not just very, very lazy. I do have plants.
Okay.
And there's a bit of a shared garden where I live, so I wouldn't mind doing some of them actually. Because there was a book I read recently, and it said the meaning of life or whatever. I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but the guy said, like a really old writer said, to be happy you have to cultivate your garden. So
would you be able to schedule that in on a day this week then?
Sure. Are you suggesting a day I should do it, or like is it on the same day as this, or?
It's up to you. I mean, when would work?
Maybe the sooner the better. So I mean, today's Tuesday, possibly later this evening.
Great. Could you pencil that in?
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll just write plants.
I'm just aware of the time, and I'm wondering, could we perhaps pick one more activity from the list, or one that you can think of, and pencil another one in? Would that be okay as well?
Yeah. And then I'd come back like next time and tell you what it was like or something like that.
We can. Before we end, we can work out how we might do that, how we might work out whether it's helped or not.
Mm-hmm. So you mean like something active?
Anything that you may get any enjoyment out of. For example, you've mentioned music.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's one of your interests.
Yeah.
Or
I don't play like a musical instrument, though.
Okay.
So that would be a good thing to do, but I can't do that. I see lying in the sun there. Maybe I am lazy, picking out very lazy
it'd be
things.
better if there's more sun in Manchester.
Do you know what yeah, absolutely, or this summer. What you mentioned before, going for a walk and stuff, I definitely would like to do that more, because it's physical exercise as well, isn't it? And that's a good thing. And if you happen to get a sunny day for it, it's really nice. So I think that would be the thing I would do.
So would we be able to, I guess it's difficult to pencil in because we don't know when it's going to be sunny, but would you be able to?
I was just going to say, it doesn't have to be sunny. I was just thinking it'd be nicer if it was. But if I pencil it in and we think you agree that's a good idea, then I'll stick to it. That would be great if you're willing to give that a go.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to suggest, perhaps you could pencil it in. If there's a sunny day, go out for a walk. Okay. Or if you're willing just to go for a walk anyway, irrespective of the weather, then all the better. But it's what would work for you. Yeah.
And I can already picture like where it goes, so somewhere a bit quieter.
Where are you picturing?
There's a bit of a hill. It's not that near where I live, but perhaps I could just get a short bus journey. And it's just near the countryside, basically. It's just south of the city, and there's just lots of fields. And there's basically walking along a river, and that's why it's dead quiet, because it's a river.
That sounds
it's nice. Yeah, it is dead quiet. And relaxing, just to be out of the city.
So I'm just having a think. Oh yeah, if you want to pencil that in before I talk, do you want to jot that down?
Yeah, well I was just thinking Thursday, because then that's 2 days from now. So it's like spread through the week. So I'll do that.
That sounds like a plan. Ideally for the future, it may be that we want to find something positive for you to potentially engage in every day. But for now, that feels like a good start, if that feels like okay for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
That feels manageable and realistic.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, how would we know if it helped you feel better? How would we know if it's worked?
How would we know? I'm not sure. I'd feel better. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
a daft answer.
That's a great answer. So it's noticing if you're feeling better. I'm wondering what you think of this as well. Sometimes we ask people to rate their feelings of enjoyment. So it's almost a sense of tuning into that sense of actually getting some enjoyment out of it. And perhaps rating it on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is maximum pleasure or enjoyment and 0 is kind of none, where you're feeling pretty awful. And sometimes we get people to rate it the hour before and to sort of mentally maybe note it during what they're feeling like during the activity, and then jot it back when they get back, and maybe rate it the hour after as well to see if there's been a shift.
Yeah.
Would that be something you could potentially do, rate it on your enjoyment on a scale of 0 to 10?
That seems like a really good idea, yeah. Because then I'd have it written down, wouldn't I? I'd have like a record. Is that what you meant?
Yeah,
so before
exactly.
I go, you know, when you're not there, so when I
Yeah.
go for a walk, I just put down a number at the start, and then I put down a number at the end. Is that what you mean?
Exactly, yeah. See if there's been any change, and see perhaps it might allow us to test out whether it's true that it's not going to get any better. Whether we might find out if something does help.
That's a good idea.
Another thing, sometimes people rate their sense of achievement as well as pleasure. So you might say put E equals whatever number, and you might do an A rating for achievement. And the reason why we might rate achievement is because some activities we don't really enjoy, but like cleaning or work, but it can well, I enjoy my job, but some activities we might not enjoy so much. And if we rate achievement, then that achievement is still important in terms of our sense of mastery of things, in terms of our sense of self-worth. So it might be that some of these activities you feel is hard work, but it might give you a sense of achievement that you've got out of bed and done something. Would that make sense?
Yeah.
To potentially rate your achievement as well?
I think so. I'm not sure I'd know how to do it exactly. But is it just the same thing? You just put a number, like from 1 to 10?
From 1 to 10, yeah. If you're not sure, I'm wondering, would you find it helpful if we just had a bit of a conversation about what it feels like to have a sense of achievement, and so you have a sense of how to rate that? For example, can you think of a task that gave you a sense of achievement in the past?
Yeah, so years ago I managed to get through university somehow, and it was really, really difficult, but at the very end, like at the final exams, I did really well. I was pleasantly surprised by that, and I felt great afterwards. I thought that was hard, and I survived it, but I didn't just survive it, like I did well. So I'm really, really happy with that.
That's an important achievement. And if you had to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you put the sense of achievement you got from completing the degree?
Probably the best of my life. It's probably like a 10.
A 10. So that's an important anchor point potentially. And how much achievement do you feel when you're sort of lying in bed? If you had to rate that?
0, because I'm doing nothing.
Okay. So perhaps that helps us think about what the anchor points are for that scale, and anything that gives you a sense of you've done something well, or you've overcome really something.
Clever. Yeah.
So I guess we've come to time now. So would it be okay if we just summarise this section of what we've done today in the agenda? I wondered if you could offer some reflections on what stood out as important for you in terms of what we've done.
Seeing this on the paper, it's not nice, but I think it's good that we did that, because it makes it much clearer. Otherwise it's just a bit of it's quicksand in your mind, and you try and figure all that stuff out, but it's just makes it much, much clearer.
The process is helpful.
Yeah, and I like this as well, again, because it's on paper, but not just that, but like what you were saying about trying these things out. It's that practical, isn't it? Just giving this stuff a go, and hopefully it will make me feel better, and then, like you said, giving it numbers at the end, so then you can just kind of you can see it clearly again, because it's it's in black and white on paper that this thing has made me feel better, or maybe it's made me feel worse. But I don't think going for a walk will make me feel worse. So, sorting my plans out. So I like that. I like that it's practical.
Yeah. So we've got things written down. We'll see if it helps, and hopefully it won't make you feel worse than lying in bed. Okay.
Yeah, hope not.
So perhaps shall we end things there then?